So Marky, or Kid Invincible's story, starts with Anissa, who was also tasked with creating children by mating on Earth in order to increase the Viltrumite population. Soon it is revealed that Omni-Man is the son of their former emperor, and Invincible is the grandson of their former emperor Argol. So Anissa thinks of a plan. She initially spies on Invincible, and then once she anonymously helps in the Guardians of the Globe's battle against Dr. Seismic, she flew through a magmamite monster summoned by Dr. Seismic, similar to what she did when she arrived on Earth for the first time. Mark, shocked at this, flew up to sky level to find out who did it. There, she revealed that she had slain the beast. Mark asks what her motives were, citing that he saw her watching him and his father. She rebuffed him and said that she was only watching Mark, not Nolan. She kissed him, much to Mark's surprise and dismay, and then she flew off, hoping to see him again. Later, after Mark returns from the alternate dimension where he was trapped by Robot, Anissa would find Mark and see him for the first time in 6 months. She asked him where he had been. Before Mark could speak and finish his statement, she stopped him by telling him about the Viltrumite mission of procreating with humans and how she wasn't performing on her end. Mark attempts to leave as he was looking for Robot, but Anissa stops him. She began to tell him about her refusal to mate with humans. She told him that even though he was young and weak, she'd settle on mating with him because of his Viltrumite heritage. Mark refused her and flew off, citing that he is still with Eve. But Anissa attacks him to stop his flight. Mark asks her to leave him alone, saying that he doesn't want to fight. She retorted that she doesn't want to fight either, but she couldn't stall the mission, citing that Nolan may not be as forceful as Thrag. But the mission to procreate still remained active. She attempts to seduce Mark, but he refuses her. She loses her patience and head-butted Mark. Seeing that seducing him won't work, Anissa realizes now that she must force herself onto Mark. Mark asks her to leave him be, but she refuses and charges. Mark lightly fought her off, hoping that she would leave him alone. However, Anissa wasn't swayed, but much rather she was enjoying the battle. She caught Mark's punch, noticing that he was stronger than before. Then she used her superior strength to overpower him, and the duo crash on an unknown farm, while she laid on top of Mark. She pushed back his arms and demanded that he stop resisting her. Mark refuses to give up and emphasizes his refusal. She continues her assault with her elbow at his neck. Anissa reaches to Mark's genitals, with Mark still attempting to push her off. She tore off their costumes and proceeds to rape him forcefully. While Mark watches in horror, Anissa is aroused. Traumatized after this experience, Mark begins to cry. Anissa tells him to man up and says that it will probably take a few more attempts to get pregnant, implying that she will be back to try again. She then flies off, leaving a traumatized Mark to reflect on his situation. Mark was traumatized by this experience, but he never thought about the results of everything that happened that day. So Anissa had successfully gotten pregnant, and she didn't tell anyone about the father of her soon-to-be-born child. Then, a couple of months after Mark had left Earth, Anissa gave birth to Mark's son, Marky. So while Mark was not on Earth, Anissa married a human named Scott, and Marky used to think that Scott is his actual father. Marky always took care of his younger sister and always waited for his mother to return from her missions. When his mother left to fight Grand Regent Thrag and his army of Thraxan Viltrumite hybrids, Marky and his sister were kidnapped by Robot. Marky tried to resist, but his efforts were completely worthless in front of Robot. Later, when Marky and other Viltrumite children were rescued, he found out that his mother is dead. He then met Invincible and asked him if his mother is really dead. After he returned home with his father, he broke down and couldn't understand what happened to his mother. He destroyed all his toys and locked himself in his room. Scott told him that he also misses Anissa and tried to talk to him. Suddenly, because of his grief, Marky's Viltrumite powers kicked in and he flew away, while also destroying a portion of his house. He had no control over his powers, so he accidentally flew into the city and destroyed a lot of property. Immortal found out about this and called Invincible, who is now the emperor of the new Viltrumite Empire. So, police officers came and told Marky to surrender, but Marky was already scared and couldn't understand how to stop his powers, and he unintentionally kept destroying more and more things around him. The police officers started shooting at him, but because of his Viltrumite powers, the bullets were practically useless in front of him. Just then, Invincible and Eve also arrived on the scene. Eve stops the bullets by creating a barrier, and Invincible takes Marky and flies him into the upper atmosphere. Marky didn't know who Invincible was, and so he starts resisting and tells Invincible to let go of him. He continues to resist, and in order to calm him, Invincible told him that he is his real father. Hearing this, Marky was shocked, and in a matter of seconds, he lost consciousness. Eve catches him and takes him to the Pentagon. Soon, he wakes up, and Scott also comes to visit him. He tells Eve that he regrets not telling Marky about his birth and his Viltrumite heritage earlier. Eve tells him that there is no need to worry, and Marky is there only until he learns to control his powers. After some time, when Invincible was leaving Earth with all the Viltrumites, he came to meet Marky and to tell him the story of the Viltrumite Empire. Invincible explains to him that millions of miles out from Earth, in deep space, there was a planet called Viltrum, and Marky's grandfather was born on that planet. Viltrumites were a violent race who valued strength above everything else. To rid themselves of any weakness, they slaughtered each other until they were bred into the Viltrumites of today. So after getting rid of the weak, the Viltrumites eventually united and turned their attention outwards and established the Viltrum Empire. An empire that continued to expand at an astounding rate for nearly 1,000 years, until their enemies made the Scourge virus, which was a weapon capable of killing the Viltrumites. So the virus ravaged the Viltrumites for decades. Each year, it took countless lives, either by killing them directly or weakening the Viltrumites who survived the virus. The death toll grew so high that dead Viltrumite bodies formed a ring around the planet, which became a monument to the fallen. In the end, the Empire lost 99.9% of its Viltrumite population, and the Viltrumites were nearly extinct. Soon after that, the Emperor Argol was also killed, and after him, Thrag emerged as the new leader of Viltrumites. He was tasked with restoring the Viltrumite Empire and to find the heir of fallen King Argol. During this time, agents were sent out to live on different planets to see if they were compatible with human DNA. It was the same mission that brought Marky's grandfather to Earth and led to the birth of Invincible. Mark explains that, "I was just like you. I had no idea that I was a Viltrumite until one day when my father sat me down and explained everything to me. Thankfully, he was able to do this before my powers kicked in. When I got my powers, I did a lot of good as Invincible. Your grandfather and I fought because we didn't agree on things. He wanted to conquer this planet for the Viltrum Empire, but he eventually saw my side of things. Together, with the help of others, we defeated Thrag, and your grandfather became the ruler of the Viltrum Empire. His rule was largely a time of peace, and as a show of compassion, your grandfather allowed Thrag to live. but that eventually led to his own death, although I was able to avenge him. So now I'm the leader of the Viltrumite Empire, and I've chosen to lead by my father's example to prove that Viltrumites can be a force of good in the universe. Mark apologizes for not being there for Marky because he had a complicated relationship with his mother, but he promises to visit him whenever he comes back to Earth. Marky, who was visibly stunned after learning so much information about himself, realized that he is actually a space alien. Then, as Mark was leaving Earth with all the Viltrumites, he comes to thank Scott and tells Marky to take care of his sister and father and also work on his superpowers. 1 or 2 years after this, Debbie takes Marky to Art's shop to surprise him. Marky is initially bored, but when Art told him that he was the one who made costumes for his father and grandfather, Marky gets very excited at the thought of getting an official superhero costume. While he was flying and testing out his new costume, he saw Monster Girl and some other superhero fighting a monster. He flies in to help them. They tell him to stop, but he insists that he is strong and can help them. He fights the monster and successfully lands a few blows on him. The monster is soon defeated. When Darkwing 2 suddenly comes out of the monster, Marky asks who Darkwing is, and Monster Girl explains that he's a fellow superhero and he's been missing since the Viltrumite War, and everyone had assumed that he had died in that war. Marky tells them that he read about the Viltrumite War. It was when a bunch of variants of his father came from different dimensions and attacked Earth. Everyone, including Monster Girl, was shocked after learning that Marky is Invincible's son. They ask him his superhero name, and he says that for now he goes by the name Kid Invincible. That night, he finishes all of his work quickly and goes to Omni-Man's grave. He talks about everything that's going on in his life and how he took on the name Kid Invincible. He says his father chose the name Invincible because it was something he felt like he was, but he chose it because it's what he will have to be if he has to live up to his father's legacy. After this, Marky lived on Earth and protected it. He fought many villains over decades. Eventually, his adopted father Scott passed away, and Marky, who was already feeling pressured while trying to live up to his father's legacy, got depressed. He always worshipped Invincible, as he knew everything that Invincible had done to protect Earth and for the betterment of the entire universe. But still, he always felt that Invincible never truly loved him because of how he was born. He felt that Invincible always favored his daughter and hated him, and that's why Terra got to live with Invincible while Marky had to stay on Earth. All of these feelings grew over the decades, and one day, Marky decided to confront his father. He flew to the new Viltrumite base and attacked his father. They fought, but soon everything stopped. Mark and Marky laid in the rubble, and Marky explained to Mark everything that happened over the decades and how he felt abandoned and pressured to live up to his legacy. Marky said he hated himself because he believed that Terra was made with love and he was made with hate, all because of his mother. But Mark explained that he left Marky on Earth because he wanted him to live and experience life just like he did on Earth, and that he's proud of him for doing so much good for Earth and all other system of planets. Marky breaks down and says he was very angry and lost control, and could have killed him. Now, how can he ever forgive himself for doing something like this to his father? Mark explains that they have near unlimited supply of time, and with that, they can do anything. We don't get to see what Marky does after this, and we don't get to see him again. So it's possible that he realized Mark does care about him and he was just misunderstanding his father's ways. So Marky must have returned to Earth for the time being, and I'm sure he will surpass Invincible if his story continues in any other comics. So yeah, that's all for this video, and thanks for watching.